chicken. Welcome to the spooky coop.
Hi, everybody. This is our first podcast.
Hi, I'm Paul, and
I'm Michelle, and this is the spooky coop. Enter if you're not chicken.
well, we're some things we're chicken about, but some things not so much, really.
Yeah.
You know, you got to have a sense of humor in life, and we thought we would have an absolutely great time talking about all the things we've experienced in our life and things other people have talked about.
Yeah. Now, this is a paranormal broadcast. We're going to be talking about ghost experiences, aliens,
Oh my
cryptids like Bigfoot, and, you know.
He has a
other
hair
things.
issue, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I bet shoe shopping is just a real bee.
Yeah, probably. And, people's experiences, people we've talked to firsthand, other things. We're going to try to really stay away from things you probably heard 100 times on other podcasts. So we're hoping that this will be new and interesting to everybody. Today's story that I'm going to say, we're going to try to get as many stories as we can in not too long of a time because, like I said, this is our first podcast, and we want to keep things interesting.
And for the record, we're recording it the day before Father's Day in 2022, which makes today Saturday,
Yeah.
June 18th, 2022.
Yeah.
Just for the record.
Okay, just for the record. That means I have to run out and find something for Paul. No, he's not my father, but...
I hope not. I hope not.
All right, guys. The first
Children
story...
would have a heart attack.
The first story I'd like to start with is there is a cemetery. I don't know if I really even should tell you the name of it because now...
Oh, come on.
Okay, the name of the cemetery is Vale End, and it's in New Hampshire. It has a reputation for being extremely haunted, and it really is. A lot of people go there ghost hunting, which is one reason why it's very, very watched by the police now. And neighbors around the place will call the police if they see people in there with ghost hunting equipment or people acting suspicious. And of course, if anyone goes there after dusk, the police come right away. So be careful if you decide to go there. And it also has a deadly reputation. Some people go there, no problem, but other people have gone there and there have been really, really scary stories. I'm going to share a few with you. And these stories, the people who've been involved or know about the people in these stories swear that they are 100% true. You know, use your own discretion deciding if they're true, but I personally know at least one person in the stories I'm going to tell you about. Now, the first story involves a woman. Let's call her Sharon, and her daughter we'll call Kate. Those aren't the real names.
No Karens in this story.
Sharon.
Sharon.
Yeah,
Okay.
We'll call her Sharon, and her daughter will be called Kate, all right? Her daughter Kate's 13, and she came home from a overnight party where they told all kinds of scary stories, and one of them they told was about the curse of Vale End. And
A curse?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a curse of the Blue Lady.
Why do these things always happen in New England?
Yeah, I don't know. Why is there always a white lady or a blue lady? I don't know either. But anyway, so...
Better than chartreuse? More definable? I don't know.
Yeah, the curse of the periwinkle lady. No, the curse of the Blue Lady. There's a stone in the back that has the name Mary on it, and she's supposed to be the Blue Lady. People swear that they've seen her. When we've been to that cemetery, we actually got a picture of this blue light around that stone.
That was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. Anyway, so there is this curse of the Blue Lady, and it says that some people who see the Blue Lady die. And if you go to her stone and you say...
No, they don't really die, do they?
Well, the curse is that you have to be near her stone, and you have to say "Blue Lady" 3 times and say "Come and get me." So after this girl hears all these horror stories, she comes home to her mother, and she tells her mother, "I'm terrified now. I'm really scared. I don't want to go near there. I don't want to drive by there." Her mother tells her, "Hey, this is just a myth to make people scared. It's a scary story to scare kids at night." And so she says to her, "I'll take you by there and I'll show you how beautiful a place it is." And it really is a pretty cemetery, big oak trees and everything, and they keep it real pretty. So her mother takes her there. And her mother says, "See, I'll prove to you there's no curse." So her mother drags her to the back where the older stones are, and she finds the stone of the Blue Lady.
Awesome parenting style, eh?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
And she
fabulous.
takes her down there, and her mother stands in front of the stone and says, "Blue Lady, Blue Lady, Blue Lady, come and get me." And
Was this before abuse laws got into play here?
no, she actually was trying to show her daughter that there's nothing to be afraid of. It was just a stupid myth.
And her name's not Karen. You're sure about this, right?
No, it's
Okay.
And she takes her out there, and nothing happens. And so she says to her daughter, "See, it's all just a myth." And her daughter's like, "Well, I guess you're right. It's just a myth." And so they get back to their car.
So how old is the daughter?
13.
13.
Yeah, so they get back to the car, and they're driving back home,
If
and her
my-
daughter's starting to realize this is fine, there's nothing to be afraid of. And on their way home, the daughter asks her mother if she can stop at the local store and pick up Coke and some chips. And her mother says, "Sure, why not?" So they stop at the local store. Her daughter runs in, gets some Coke and chips, and when she comes out, she can't find her mother. And so she goes to the car to see if what's going on, and she finds her mother lying across the front seat,
Oh,
sort of hanging onto the next seat, and her mother's cold stone dead.
that's not good. This for real?
Yeah, for
This-
real.
This for real happened.
Yeah, for real. Her mother had a massive coronary, and her mother was only 42 or something, and she had a massive coronary and was stone cold dead. And
That's horrid.
yeah, and
At
of course,
13.
it could have been like a coincidence, but come on, she had just done that. So that was really, really creepy. And then another story I heard about this cemetery. Somebody knows one of these people that was involved in it, and absolutely this is true. Some guys had been at 20-somethings, mid-20s, had been out at one of the local bars down there and had a few drinks. And then they decided for fun they were going to go out to the cemetery and they were going to try that. And one of them was like, "I don't want any part of this," and his friends were like, "Hey, what's wrong with you? You're a real wimp. You're not. We don't want anything to do with you if you don't come
You
with
needed
us."
an extra whiskey or something? What was? They're all drinking. Why would any of them hesitate?
Like I said, maybe he was the designated driver or something.
Oh.
I don't know.
Let's
But he
go
didn't
see
wanna-
it. No, maybe
No,
not so
no,
much.
maybe not. Yeah, he didn't want to go in. He wasn't a member of the Coop, I guess.
Oh.
He didn't want to go in, and he decided not. They dragged him in anyway, and they went down to the stone of Blue Lady, and 2 of them stood up and did the Blue Lady thing. One of them kind of was like, he said the Blue Lady thing, but he didn't say the "come and get me." He wimped out at the last minute. And this other guy just stood there, absolutely terrified, didn't say a word. And one of the neighbors yelled out from, because like I said, the neighbors watch this stuff. One of the neighbors screamed out.
Living or dead? The neighbors.
The neighbor was living.
Just
Yeah.
checking. Okay.
Yeah, she has her house looks over the cemetery, and she screamed out, "I called the cops on you guys. The cops are coming." And so these guys decided, 1, that they're in a cemetery they shouldn't be in, and 2, they're drunk, so they better get the hell out of there. So they got in their car, they took off. Now there's 2 ways to get to this cemetery. One way goes, it's a paved road, goes back into town, and another way goes off to this swampy area. Well, it's not really swampy, it's a dirt road, but there's swamp on both sides. So this...
Great place for a movie, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be a great place for a movie.
Medea's
You write
Nightmare.
it. You write the script.
A Medea dark
God,
comedy.
yeah. Tyler Perry, Medea goes to Vale's End. That wouldn't last long. She'd be like, "You get the hell out of here, blue lady." Anyway, so they decide that if the cops are coming, they must be coming up the paved road. So they're going to go down the dirt road, take the other way. And so they do. And as they're going down that way, the guy driving, who was one of the guys that did the blue lady thing, he starts screaming, "Oh, the cops are coming." Well, I don't know if he's screaming, but he's yelling, "Oh my God, the cops are coming. I can see the blue lights coming." And he says, "I better drive faster," which is probably not a good thing if you're going down a swampy dirt road at night when you're drinking.
Not a good idea.
No, not a good idea.
Not recommended ever.
Yeah,
Never.
and then the other guy is like, "I can see the lights." And the guy didn't say the blue lady thing. He's like, "Where? I don't see any lights. I don't see any lights." Anyway, they're driving faster. They're doing things like that. The blue lights are overtaking them. And they end up driving right into the swamp. And it could have been that they drove into the swamp because they were drunk. There is a big if in this one. And two of them in the crash, I guess they tipped their car or something. And two of them in the crash drowned in the swamp.
Oof.
And
what a horrible way to go.
Yeah.
In swamp water.
Yeah.
Ooh, drowning.
Well, there are worse ways to go, I guess. Burning building
Crawdads
or something.
And
Crawdads.
Things crawling in the water.
So anyway.
Snakes.
I don't know. So anyway, the one who didn't say the blue lady thing came out with not a scratch on him, and he went back in to try to find people, and he waded into the swamp, and he got one of them out who had like a couple of broken ribs or something, and he was the one who didn't say, "Come and get me." He was injured, but he wasn't hurt. Eventually, the police actually did go down that way. I don't know why. Maybe they had a cell phone or something, but they did find them. And like I said, two of them had died. The one who wasn't hurt told this story, but of course he was inebriated at the time, so they put it down to drunk driving.
Another drunken person.
Yeah. So he swears it was the curse of the blue lady, but you never know. And the third story I was told, and this one I was told by somebody who heard it absolutely firsthand, swears by it, was there were two women who were very much into yoga and things like that. And they decided that somebody had to put the blue lady to rest, that she finally needed to rest.
Why would they take this upon themselves?
Well, they were trying to be nice. They thought that, no one else would have a problem if they could just lead the blue lady to heaven. So they went off to Vale End in the daytime, and they sat in front of her stone, and they took out some drums, those African drums that they use at yoga things or whatever. I don't know. I don't do that. And I could be totally wrong in my words, but they did this drumming thing, and they did these special prayers.
Should I do that
to
for
lead
sound
her.
effects in the background here? Sorry.
Go for it.
No.
Anyway, they did this thing, these drumming things where they felt that they must have released her spirit. And then they each took a piece off of her grave. Now, people have been taking pieces off of her gravestone for maybe decades or whatever, and the top of her gravestone was once curved, and now it sort of has a little point. And so there's little pieces and flakes, and each one of them took a little flake off the top of her gravestone, I guess as a momentum, and they were going to put it like in some sacred place in their house to honor her.
Right.
And they each brought their little piece home. They felt that they had released her into the next life, into heaven or whatever. And when they brought these pieces home, even though they put them in a place of honor, one of the girls, right after they got home, she was driving back to some yoga studio or something, and it was an absolute clear day, clear weather, nobody on the road but her, because this was a time of day where this back road, it was a paved back road through an area. I think the area was Greenville or Greenfield, one of the green towns, and somehow, for no reason, she said she somehow lost control of her car, and she hit a tree. and ended up in the hospital. Was able to tell the story. She said she felt like somebody had taken her wheel and made her drive into the tree. And then she had severe head injuries, and she died not long after she was in the hospital.
That's tragic.
And the other woman who did the circle with her right away got her piece of stone and drove back to the cemetery, the whole while terrified that she was going to get in an accident too, and just kept praying, saying to the blue lady, "I'm very sorry for what we did, please forgive me." And she brought the stone back and put it back on her grave, hoping that the blue lady would forgive her. I think what these people missed is that they were doing an Indian drumming for a woman who lived in a time when the Indians were alive, and there were Indian wars and Indian massacres and fights. So it probably scared the spirit or bothered the spirit more than comforted her.
You know, it seems to me antithetical to be releasing someone's spirit from being trapped here on earth, which is a wonderful thing to do. And then to take something which is a part of that spirit, like the stone pieces, and bring them back. Why would you do that if you didn't want to be somehow connected to this spirit that you've now released? Have you released them, or are you holding them here in some other way?
That's a good point.
And I wonder about what were these ladies thinking when they did this, or if they were good-hearted, but they just didn't know how to do it.
Yeah, I think that they were really good-hearted, and I think they felt like this was some way that they could honor her by putting this piece of stone in a sacred place. Do you remember when we visited Vale End Cemetery and we just walked around just to see? It was in the middle of the day, and we just wanted to see what was going. We didn't do the blue lady thing. And as we were getting out, we walked back to our car, and a huge log. We were the only people there. And a huge log, it was like literally the size of a tree, was in front of our car.
Yep, I remember. It fell out of the sky.
Yeah, it's like it came out of the sky out of nowhere. And it took us like I don't know, 5-10 minutes just to move it. It was so heavy. We had to drag it a little bit.
Yes, I remember.
Drag it a little bit.
It was either that or drive around on the stones.
Yeah, we had to. Otherwise,
there's no way we were going to do that.
Yeah, without knocking over a bunch of stones. This place is really amazing. And like I said, if you feel so inclined to go there, please do not stand in front of that stone and do the blue lady ritual. You know, it's really not like standing in a mirror.
And don't take anything. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, so that's the story of Vale End, and that place. You know, in the daytime it's beautiful, but at night it gives you the willies. Which is another story that we're going to tell you about, where the giving you the willies come from. So stay tuned for that story. That is a fantastically ghoulish story that you're going to hear in the future.
So is that it? Is this our first one? Are we?
That's only 19 minutes. We still have another one.
Oh, you have another one? Well, jeez.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right.
I get to drink more of my coffee here.
Yeah, well, I thought you might tell one.
I don't have one handy, but
I thought you'd tell about the UFO on the Watauga Reserve, about those guys that were on the Watauga Reserve and they saw the UFO.
Oh, well, there's a couple of stories from up there. The Watauga Reserve is up in central Ontario, up in the Muskogee region.
Yeah, why don't you tell the story?
The Watauga Mohawk live there. And I had the great opportunity to talk to one of the medicine people up there, Terry Sination, many years ago. And he and his wife told me in great detail about a night when there was a UFO sighting over the reserve. People were out looking at this thing. They called one another and they went out to this area where it was. And then in detail, Terry, the medicine man, was explaining to me the different colored lights and the sequences that they would flash in. And I can't remember the exact sequence, but I'll give you an example where there was a blue light on the left side, a red light on the right side, and green, yellow lights in the middle. And the yellow might flash several times, then the green once, then the outsides would flash in sequence a couple of times.
Are you sure that wasn't an airplane? I mean, airplanes have red lights and they flash in sequence.
No, this was not an airplane. This was a big object hovering right over the reserve that didn't move.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And so what did they do?
Believe me, you look at Terry when he told you, you'd be thinking, yeah, he's not sitting there making this up, lying to me about this.
So what did it do?
It sat there for a while, for a couple of hours, he said. And then at some point, the lights stopped and there was nothing there. It was like it had never existed. It just went away, like it evaporated into the air. Whew, gone.
Yeah?
They didn't even see it move. It just disappeared.
Wow.
You know, I've heard about sightings like that from people about UFOs, and this story from Terry confirmed it for me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's my huge story for the Watch-Off for our first episode.
And you have a lot more coming, I'm sure.
There are a lot of stories from there, and we'll tell some more of those in the future.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I have one more that we can add to this. It's another ghost story. It was in the St. Louis Dispatch, I think it was. Hang on, it was.
Do you need your cheat notes? Here they are.
That's not my cheat notes.
Oh, are these them?
Yeah.
Just testing.
Yeah, my cheat notes, because I don't know all the exact things. It was in the St. Louis. You guys might have heard about this one. I don't know. It was in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. There was an officer named Nino. How do you say that?
Nino DiCandia.
Nino DiCandia, and actually, if you go up and look at the newspapers, he's done a lot of amazing things in St. Louis for the town. He's got awards and everything. He's a really stable, really good guy. So if he says something, he ain't making it up. This is a real. This is a sturdy, mentally sound guy. I mean, sometimes people make up reports and they're like, that guy's crazy. But this guy has awards from the city and everything. So at the time, he had a beat that went round in his cruiser. He went up to LeMay Ferry Road. On LeMay Ferry Road, he was in October. It was late October 2011, about 3:30 in the morning. He was driving up by this cemetery, or he wasn't at the cemetery yet. He was just passing before it, and he saw this couple, and they were walking there. The man was dressed in a blue suit, and the woman had sort of a off-white pastel dress, and they were just walking, and they were holding hands. And his first thought as he passed by, he slowed down as he passed them by. And his first thought was that they must have got out of the Applegate dementia ward. There was a nursing home. And he thought they must have got out of there. They must have just got out of there. So he slowed down, and the man waved to him and smiled. And he said, yeah, those people must have got out of there. So he stopped his cruiser. He turned around, and as he turned around, he saw them walking into the cemetery. So he quickly drove into the cemetery gates, expecting to see them right there so he could pick them up, because, it's cold, and he needed to at least figure out where they came from, bring them back. They weren't really dressed for the weather. And so when he got there, they were gone. And he was only maybe, he said 20 seconds or less behind them.
That close.
Yeah. And they were absolutely gone. So he had never seen anything like that. He thought maybe they went behind one of the stones or another.
Geriatric sprinters? Acrobats?
Yeah, Olympic runners. So he started, looking behind all the stones, looking down the side streets. I mean, this is a big cemetery that they were in. There's like two big cemeteries that were connected to each other.
Yeah.
But honestly, these were really old people. They looked like they were in their late 80s or something. So he just kept looking around and looking around. He looked around for like an hour, and he couldn't find them. So finally he started getting really spooked out. Really, really spooked out. So he called his commander, and told him, and then he came back, and when he came back, he was like all all chilled out, and really freaked out, and there were no missing people from anywhere. Yeah.
Oh,
so
that would do it.
Yeah, he finally accepted that he had seen a ghost or two ghosts, and it really shook him up. And he shook him up so much that he ended up calling the newspaper for their collection of Halloween stories.
Right.
Because he felt that this was something that it was a true Halloween story. So it ended up being in the newspaper. He did that thing again, that beat again for years and years and years, hoping that he would see them again, and when they waved, he could get maybe in front of them and talk to them or find something else, but he never saw them again.
Never saw them again.
And so I guess that might wrap it up for this episode, for our first. Oh, you got one.
Yay! No,
yay! Next week, for our next episode, we have some more spooky stories. Maybe another UFO story. I have an interesting story about a UFO that was on a cul-de-sac that everyone on the cul-de-sac ended up coming out and seeing. And that was a really good story. I have, you have some stories to tell us. I have a story about
some of these stories we can tell together because we've had some of these experiences together too, right?
Yeah, so. And I have some interesting stories about some other haunted
After decades
areas.
of marriage, you think we might have a couple of things in common, huh?
Yeah. Anyway, we have some really good stuff ahead for you. Some really spooky things. Some really scary things. We have some demonic stuff ahead too.
Oh, I hate that. Oh, I hate demonic stuff.
Oh yeah, but
freaks
it's cool.
Me out.
It's really cool.
All demons suck. Okay, they all suck. There's not a nice one out there.
Well, of course there's no nice ones. They're demons. Well, here's Joe. He's a demon. He's really nice.
But if you had a chance to sit down and have a cup of coffee with the devil just to find out, the devil's perspective, would you consider it?
Maybe. I don't know. As long as he's sitting way down there, at Putin's table.
See, people would do that. But if I said to you now, would you sit down with the demon and have a cup of coffee?
Maybe. I don't know.
You would not.
He might poison it, but
I wouldn't let you.
You ever see those pictures of Putin sitting at a table? It's 50 feet long.
Yes.
He's at one side, and you're at the other side.
If this is still on the air decades from now, Putin's the president of Russia right now, and he's a real. He's anyway. We won't say because
Well, he could be a demon.
He could. Yeah, he could.
Yeah. At the very least, he's got that huge long table.
Yeah.
You can sit 50 feet away from him to have a cup of tea, but by the time you get served, it'll be cold.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway,
we'll see you, I guess, next week at the Coop, and that's if you're not too chicken to come in. So,
thank you for coming to visit the Spooky Coop.
Yeah.